Welcome back to the beautiful mountainous town of Bukittinggi. And I almost hate to say it, but I'm starting to think that the rainy season might finally have ended. There have actually been a number of days, not consecutive days, but close together days in which it hasn't been raining all day and the sun has come out and we've had beautiful blue skies like this. My plan for today was actually not to go anywhere, but I was looking out the window and I saw these blue skies and I just couldn't let them go to waste. So here I am on the bike, and my plan was to ride into Bukittinggi city, and then I was going to go down the road into the canyon until I reached a point, the starting point of the Great Wall of Bukittinggi Trail. And not because I was so terribly interested in that trail, but I am terribly interested in the weather, the nice weather, and it was just a place to go. The place to go while the sun is shining and go for a little bit of a walk. However, as I was heading down the road into Bukittinggi so that I could start at the top of the trail, I ran into a massive traffic jam, much bigger than any I've seen so far, and that's because they're still paving that road, and it looked like the traffic was really backed up, and I didn't want to deal with the traffic jam, and I did not want to ride over all the wet asphalt. So at the last second I called an audible, and now I'm riding this direction down a smaller road. And this route is going to take me into the canyon from the other side. And then I'll be going to the other end of the Great Wall Trail, because the whole idea of this trail is that it goes from Bukittinggi to the village of Koto Gadang. Ooh, yeah. This is what I was talking about the other day, that you see a lot of rice being laid out to dry in the sun. Look at all those sacks being are waiting their turn. So one harvest has already taken place, though I haven't seen any harvesting going on, so I don't know how the harvesting is done here. But yeah, the village is called Koto Gadang, and it's quite a famous town in this area because it has a reputation for producing scholars and leaders and academics and artists. A number of famous people in Indonesian history, as I said, scholars and artists and politicians, leaders of all kind, have come from this one small town, this one small village of Koto Gadang. Just seems to produce these sorts of people. Anyway, it's a very well-known town, well-known village, and the Great Wall of Bukittinggi is based on a trail starting in Bukittinggi and ending in Koto Gadang. And I was going to go in that direction from Bukittinggi to Koto Gadang, but because of the big traffic jams, I decided to go the other way around, and I'll be starting at the bottom of the trail rather than the top. And one interesting thing about this route is that I already cycled this route when I came out of the canyon the other day, and it was along this route that I lost my my mounting pole that I use for mounting the GoPro on my bicycle. And that's why the GoPro is not facing me at all. I can't mount the GoPro right now because I lost my entire mounting apparatus. It fell out of my pannier bag as I was cycling along here, and it's gone. And I'm kind of curious if I'll spot it anywhere, but I doubt it very much because there's so much traffic along these roads that someone would have spotted the stick and they would have picked it up and taken it home, you know, a walking stick, or they'll use it to repair their broom or their farming tool or something. But if I happen to see it somewhere, I will be amazed. And in the meantime, I've been keeping my eyes open for one of these shops that sells sticks like that. And so far, in all the days since I lost my stick, I haven't been able to find a replacement. Yeah, if I lost my mounting stick along this road, yeah, there's no way I'll get it back. Someone would have picked it up. But if it fell off or fell out of my bag along the moors, the smaller countryside road, I mean, there's a possibility that it hasn't been spotted yet and I'll be able to find it. That would be very, very much a miracle, but hey, you never know. I've arrived at the intersection where I turned to go down into the canyon, but there was a very interesting building here. I spotted it last time I was here. Hello. I just want to scoot over here. Maybe I can take a slightly closer look at it. I have no idea what it could be. Not sure if I'll be able to get a view of it either. Where was it? I've already gone past it. I guess the view was covered up by all the buildings. Anyway, down there is the, that's where I'm going. I think that's Koto. I can see the large part of Koto Gadang right over there. And then there's the canyon between that village and Bukittinggi. Another beautiful day. So I can see a little bit of the building that I was talking about. There it is. Could be, I don't know what it could be, to be honest. Having a hard time just getting back on the road. Oh man, the ongoing theme of Sumatra. Traffic everywhere. I'm gonna scoot down this side road. Hello. See if I can track down this building. It's another fascinating village up here. Beautiful spot. And it's kind of hard to zero in on this building. It's always covered up. I don't know how to get at it. Maybe through here. Yeah, it's right on the other side of this green and yellow building. I can't get anywhere near it. Yeah, it's covered up from all sides, at least so far. But this is an amazing little place right here, isn't there? Isn't it? Just a small water channel running right alongside all these houses. The house I just passed, I saw some people in the window of their house, and they just had some garbage and they just threw it out the window, so it landed like a bag of kitchen garbage or something, and it landed in this channel, water channel, and just went floating along. Oh. Let's see. Oh. Maybe if I walk back this way, I can somehow get at that building. Yeah, there's part of it there. A green rooftop. I think this first part is some kind of a school. I see a lot of students, so I think this is a school, and maybe the rest of the building is connected to it and is part of the school. Hello.
Where are you?
Fine, thank you.
And from?
Canada. Yeah, Canada. Oh.
Bukittinggi.
Yeah, Bukittinggi over there. And Koto Gadang. Anyway, I think this is, yeah, it's all just part of a school. But the section that I saw from the road, I can't really see it from here, just a little bit of it. It's all on the other side of this main building. Yeah, I think it's an Islamic school. Part of the building is much older than the other part, I think. So, mystery solved, I think. Hello. Hello. How are you? Hello. How are you? Good. Okay. Hello. How are you? So, heading down into the valley floor where Koto Gadang is located. if I have any hope of recovering my GoPro mounting apparatus, it'll be somewhere here outside of this cluster of buildings. But yeah, I don't. I'm pretty sure it won't be there anymore. It's amazing that it fell out and I never noticed it at all. And I thought out here in the countryside in these small villages, I would see all kinds of shops, you know, selling farming implements where I can buy another one of these sticks, but I haven't seen one anywhere. I just remembered that for much of this road, like while I was cycling up this road last time, I had the 360 camera running for some of the time. So I may even have captured video of the moment the stick fell out of my pannier bag. I never thought of that till now. I should have reviewed the video to see. Oh, look at that. Beautiful sight. And up here on the right, you see a man with a hoe. And the stick that he has in that hoe, that's the kind of stick that I'm looking for. I tried using a lighter, smaller, thinner broomstick. And broomsticks are relatively easy to find, but I find they're too flexible, so the camera bounces around way too much. Those sticks that they use for axes and hoes and other farming tools are much thicker, stiffer. Again, it's funny how when you're cycling, you remember everything. Things get burned into your memory. It's one advantage of a bike over like a scooter or something like that. Like this spot here, I stopped right here between these trees to take some pictures. Last time I was here, I took some pictures. Yeah, off in this direction. Newly planted rice fields. But again, yeah, when you're cycling, a lot of this gets burned into your brain. This little house right there, the little shack. I remember it so clearly, and this view in particular. And maybe if you're traveling by motorcycle or scooter, you cover so much more ground, so much more quickly. And you're staring at the road all the time because you're moving much faster. You don't see as much, and you certainly don't remember as much. So from that point of view, cycling is much better. And there's actually, I took a picture of my bicycle down here somewhere, and in that photograph, I could still see my GoPro stick in the pannier bag. So I know based on that picture, you know, that I had to have lost the stick somewhere between the point where I took that picture and when I got back to my hotel. Or actually, no, it was when I stopped at a little shop. When I stopped at the shop and got off my bike, that's when I noticed the stick was gone. And there on the left is the namesake of the Minangkabau people, the kabau, the water buffalo. And it's there. Just one there in the field, but their horns are what the Minangkabau people adopted as their symbol. Wow. I guess with the rainy season ending, this is the perfect time to be here. Hello. Cooler temperatures still, clear skies. Hello. Entering the outskirts of this village, Koto Gadang. I rode through it the other day, and just a casual glance at the place was quite interesting. I mean, you see quite a few, very interesting buildings like this one right here across the street. It's a very old traditional village, as I said, known for producing a lot of famous people in Indonesia, and a lot of craftsmen as well. There are a lot of silver workshops here, silversmiths. And I think I can follow this street right through the village out the other side, and that will take me down into the canyon. And at the beginning of the Great Wall of Bukittinggi Trail. There's the sign for the town, Koto Gadang. Quite an interesting building right behind it. Right there. Balan Adat, Koto Gadang. Oh, look at that. I found an actual street sign, Jenjang Koto Gadang, the Great Wall. So I am on the right track. And this trail, once I find the start of it, should take me across the river and then up the hillside right to the base of the cliffs near the Panorama Park and the Japanese tunnels. I thought I'd be going straight downhill to the river, but right now I'm actually riding uphill. I definitely will have to go down at some point, but I'm not sure where I'll be able to lock up my bicycle. We'll see. I'm having that Mad Dogs and Englishmen feeling again. I get that in most places I've ever visited because, like most Westerners, foreigners, I tend to be out exploring at this time of day with the sun at its highest point. And that's the time of day when local people, more intelligent people, are hiding indoors from the sun. So I always have the feeling like the country is completely empty sometimes. I go walking or cycling through these villages and along these roads, and I don't see any people at all. But I'll bet it would look very different in the evening when the sun goes down. That's when the local people have the good sense to come outside. Because I've always noticed that if you go outside early in the morning, you see an extremely different country than you see during the day. Okay, now we're going down. Yeah, this makes more sense. Hello. Still find it quite interesting that the children here are so brave. They're so self-confident that even two young girls like that going by on a scooter will have the bravery to greet me as they go by with a big smile. Very self-confident. Okay, looks like we're arriving somewhere interesting. I see a wall. This might be the end or the beginning of the Great Wall of Bukittinggi Trail, depending on how you look at it. Oh, yeah, here it is. Ha! The Great Wall of Koto Gadang, they call it down here. Huh. Now I just need something to lock my bike to so that I can go for a walk. Huh. Well, here it is, the Great Wall of Bukittinggi. Yeah, from here, okay, the trail goes straight down to the river, crosses the bridge, and then straight up the other side. All right, let's find I don't see a very good place to lock up my bike. I kind of want to lock it up right here, but I can't lock it to anything. There are no bike racks, of course, no poles or anything. Anyway, I'll find something. All right, down we go along the Great Wall of Bukittinggi Trail. Yeah, it's all steps at the it's probably going to be steps all the way down. There's the trail. As always, the very first thing I think about is the construction of it, carrying all these bricks, all the cement, all the mortar, all the work with shovels, and thinking of the men doing the labor. Couldn't imagine. I bring to those thoughts some experiences of my own doing work like this back in Canada, in my working as a laborer during the summer days, those years. And there were times when I was in the bush doing a bit of work like this, building trails and putting benches in place with absolutely no clue what I was doing. But there was no mistaking how tough the work was. You know, it's one thing to be doing construction work, but then to be doing construction in kind of a jungle in the hot sun with all the insects. And I think Canada is quite a bit more challenging in that regard than a lot of the countries that I visited, because if this were Canada and I were on this trail in Canada right now, I would be being devoured by black flies, horse flies, and mosquitoes. I mean, there are so many of them on every, nature trail in Canada. You're just tormented by insects all the time. And here in Sumatra, I don't generally experience that. Like, here I am on this trail, essentially going through a jungle rainforest, and I'm not being bothered by any mosquitoes, any flies, any biting insects at all. And that's pretty amazing. So, as I said, if you were in Canada on a trail like this, or building this trail, I mean, you would lose your sanity. You really would. You just, it's just crazy. Long time ago, I rode my bike across most of Canada, and camping out in the a little side trail. And I was camping out most nights, and literally camping out would mean riding into the bush, putting up your tent as fast as you can, and then diving inside, because you couldn't stay outside your tent. You just couldn't. The insects would just drive you mad, just drive you insane. So, but here, not a single mosquito. But I found this little side trail here, which looks like it leads to a lookout point. I didn't find a place up above where I could lock my bike up near the start of the trail. Like, I couldn't lock it to anything. So I just set it there, and I, locked the wheel to the frame, which means nobody can, unless they break the lock, they can't ride away on the bike, but someone could pick it up and carry it away. So it's not a very secure locking position, but I think it's pretty safe up there. It'd be very hard for a thief to take a bicycle like that and keep it hidden, I think. It would stand out around here. But anyway, we'll see. If my bike is gone when I go back up there, I will just get on with my life and rent a scooter or something like that. Here's the view. You can feel the heat, that's for sure. That's the cliff we just walked down. Yeah, I like this. I like it a lot. I mean, it's I think it falls into one of those attractions that, if you heard about the Great Wall of Bukittinggi, and then you traveled a long distance and made a great effort to come here and see it, you would probably come away from it rather underwhelmed. But if you happen to be in Bukittinggi anyway, and this is just you just ride your bike for a couple of kilometers and you're here, this is cool. This is very, very cool. Very nice. Long portions of stairs going down. I was thinking a lot last night about my experiences the other day when I went to Fort de Kock and to the zoo, because that experience didn't really turn out the way I expected. With the fort in particular, it was because of the the history of it, where I did a fair amount of reading about the fort and had a certain idea of what it was all about, and yet none of the information at the fort that was on display lined up with what I had read online. It didn't directly contradict the stories that I'd read online, but nor did any of it support it or mention it in any way. So I started to think I must have been wrong. So last night I did some more research. I just typed Padri War into Google, and then I just started reading all the articles that came up, including the entry at the Encyclopedia Britannica, quite reputable sources online, and they told the story of the Padri War in the way that I understood it, that the Padri were kind of a reformist movement amongst the Islamic community here. They were more conservative, and they wanted to, if not impose Sharia law, they wanted to purify Islam here and get rid of the Minangkabau traditions and customs and beliefs, because the local people here, they had converted to Islam throughout history, but they had a very, very strong local culture and beliefs of their own and traditions. And they kept a lot of these, and they called those the Adat, A-D-A-T, these Adat. Adat refers to that set of Minangkabau traditional beliefs and customs. And the Padri wanted to get rid of the Adat because it was not in keeping with Islamic teachings. And that conflict turned into a war between the Adat and the Padri, and the Dutch forces, the colonial forces, sided with the Adat. And my understanding is that Fort de Kock here in Bukittinggi was built right in the center of 5 Adat villages, and it was a defensive position used in the war, the Padri War. And in the end, the Padri lost. They lost the military conflict, the Padri War. They were the losers. So that was my understanding of Fort de Kock, the whole history of it. And but when you go to Fort de Kock yourself and look at what's there were silhouettes of 4 famous Indonesians. Of course, at that time they weren't Indonesians. Indonesia didn't exist yet, but for the sake of convenience, I'll say Indonesians. They're part of Indonesian history. And they were the 4 leaders of the Padri. And then when you read the history there, it basically says that the fort was a military defensive point used by the Dutch to protect themselves. The way Google translated it said, as a defensive position against the onslaught of the Minangkabau people. So they basically said this fort was part of the military takeover of Sumatra by Dutch colonizers. And the 4 leaders of the Padri movement were the heroes of the Padri War. And they don't actually say, who won or who lost. So you come away with the feeling that, well, the heroes of the Padri War, they must have won. Why else are they heroes? But no, they lost the war. And in fact, the war was between the local people themselves, the Padri versus the Adat. And the Adat side won. Anyway, I find that a very interesting history, but when you go to Fort de Kock, none of that is on display. There's no information that aligns with that story at all. So I was quite confused when I was there. I thought I had all of my facts wrong, So we're down at the bottom, and there is the bridge I've been talking about. Yeah, that went a lot faster than I expected. I was at the bridge before. I rode my bike sort of underneath it. There's a road that goes underneath it along the river, and I rode my bike along there. And I could look up at the bridge, but Now we get to walk across it. All right, let's walk across the bridge. And Monkey Land is supposed to be off in that direction, but I don't know if the trail, this trail heads to the left and to the right, I'm not sure. Well, there's a monkey anyway, on the bridge. Hey there, monkey. Ah, cool. Yeah, this is where I was the other day on my bike. I was on that road down there, and it only goes as far as a hotel or a resort at the end. As you go around the corner there, this trail dead ends at the resort, stops there. Yes, I'm not sure how you're supposed to get to Monkey Land. Maybe if you're on foot, you can walk past that resort and keep going. I'm not sure. And there's the river down there. The canyon continues off in that direction. Hey there, monkey. Yeah, on the other side of the bridge now. And I guess I'll follow this trail all the way up to the top. Should go back to the main road near the Japanese tunnel. Don't really need to go that far, to be honest. I think I've pretty much got the idea of what the Great Wall of Bukittinggi is all about. But might as well see what's on the other side. Follow it all the way to the end. So yeah, my visit to the fort was quite interesting. Very beautiful park. I mean, it's well worth visiting. Even if the history was a little bit confusing to me. And then, as often happens with me, I really didn't know what the whole place involved. You know, it's almost like my first visit is always a reconnaissance mission, just figuring these things out. And then what I eventually learned was that from the fort, then you can cross a bridge, takes you across one of the busy roads of Bukittinggi, and you find yourself right next to a large free flight bird aviary and a zoo. Quite a large, like in terms of area, not really in terms of all the animals on display, but in terms of the area, it's quite a large zoo. You do a lot of walking when you get there. And there's a museum there as well, a traditional Minangkabau house, a rumah Gadang. Yeah, it's like a restored, or they built it originally, I'm not really sure. This large, rumah Gadang. I think they called it a rumah adat. A beautiful, beautiful house. And it's a museum. And very, very nice displays on the inside. Unfortunately, none of it was in English, so I couldn't really understand anything that I read or saw inside the museum. But yeah, beautiful nonetheless, worth visiting. Wow, check this out. I'm guessing that this is some kind of a restaurant, cafe. It's quite an elaborate structure to be way down here at the bottom of this trail in the canyon. Oh, okay, maybe a little hotel as well. Looks like some of those rooms are available, like bedrooms. Interesting. Though I have to say that the zoo itself was not a very pleasant place to visit. When I saw that there was a kind of zoo there, I wasn't really that excited about it, because regional zoos in a lot of places around the world can be kind of sad. They don't have the money to really give the animals like a natural habitat, or to care for them in the way that you really think would be appropriate. Wow, look at that. That is quite a setting for this place. yeah, I guess if you were here on a holiday and had some money, this would be a very interesting place to try to get a room here. So you'd have to be self-sufficient in terms of food and everything else, because you'd have to get all way up there into Bukittinggi, up the cliff, in order to go to a restaurant or go shopping or do anything. But for a couple of nights, you know, this would be kind of interesting. The first animals that I saw when I crossed over from the fort to the zoo were 2 elephants. And both of them were chained. And I discovered later on that they were chained on 2 legs. So they would have a chain on one front leg and then a chain on a back leg as well. And they were both pulled pretty tight. So they really couldn't move forward and they couldn't move backward. And I don't think they could even turn around. They really had no freedom of movement at all, which is, you know, you hate to see something like that. And both of these elephants had developed that repetitive movement you see in zoo animals that are in cages. They develop this, you know, like animals will pace back and forth, you know, for hours and hours at a time. And these elephants were swaying. So, you know, they were swaying from side to side. And then the one elephant was sort of, with the 2 chains, would kind of move forward, hit the end of that chain, kind of move backward against that chain, forward, backward, swaying side to side. And you know they would just do this for hours. And my understanding is that when you see this repetitive motion, those animals are under extreme emotional stress. They're basically, you know, in captivity like that. They're kind of, you know, losing their mind a little bit and being caged or being chained up. And then they develop these, you know, habits, you know, yeah, they're not in good shape. They're not good. And yeah, you just sort of hate to see that, especially, well, with any animal, but animals as majestic as elephants, you know. Well, I'm here out in the middle of rice fields. This is this hotel behind me, beautiful setting. And then off in this direction, rice fields. Just gorgeous. Well, to my surprise, I think I've already arrived at the spot where I saw an entrance to this trail right here. This was the first entrance that I saw. I rode my bike down this road, and then there was parking here for scooters and for cars. Yeah, there's a sign that I saw. Great Wall, Tembok China, Pakir Roda Dua, 2-wheeled parking and 4-wheeled parking. So I thought maybe this was the beginning of the trail, but I see that it actually continues on. So I think I'll keep going as far as my legs will take me and see if I can find out where this trail actually goes and where the Great Wall of China Trail begins officially. Well, it didn't seem to continue very far, just a few more meters up to this point. Back at the road, there's one of the hairpin turns. And, you know, it looks like there are some steps there. And you basically just, I guess you just end up following the road. There's the entrance to the Japanese tunnel over there. And up there is the tower in the Panorama Park. So yeah, this is more or less the beginning of the trail. It merges with the road. Huh. All right. Yeah, here's the sign on the other side. Janjang Koto Gadang, the Great Wall of Koto Gadang. I thought it was the Great Wall of Bukittinggi, but perhaps not. And as far as I know, Tahun means year. So this trail would have been built in as the Great Wall, you know, 2013. So, yeah, I don't mind that it is so short, to be honest. but it is a lot shorter than I expected it to be. I never thought I'd be finished the hike so soon. So again, I can see somebody coming from a long ways or making an effort to hike along this trail. They might find it not quite worth all the effort of getting here. But yeah, it's a beautiful trail and leads through a beautiful canyon. What else do you want? And I don't mind going just a short distance. I think I'm gonna go down to the bottom near that hotel and do a little bit more walking along that road through the rice fields. I'm back down at the bottom, and this is the pathway I mentioned. I want to follow it out towards the end. Probably goes back to the river, and maybe it goes through that cluster of buildings over there. Yeah, I just want to see where it goes. It's actually a water channel for irrigating the rice fields. You can see all these openings. If you look down, you can see water down there. Pretty elaborate structure. Yeah, I think that guy on the scooter is following this trail, so that's where I'll be able to go, I think. Check this out. Smaller branch. Look at that. That is very cool. Have to go in that direction, of course. Just coming out the end of the rice field trail, the water trail that I was following. Oh, here's a scooter coming up behind me. And I noticed that from here, I get a very clear view of the tower at the very top of that hill there, and from the panorama park. And I remember from there looking down on these rice fields and noticing a very beautiful set of traditional buildings, and it would have been those that I saw from up there. I didn't realize that they were the same ones, and I assumed they were some kind of a restaurant or hotel. So yeah, gorgeous, isolated piece of land down here, these rice fields. Look at that. You just want to keep doing 360s with your GoPro, you know, just to capture it all down here in the canyon. And apparently this is the main road right here. I rode my bike past this opening and I never saw it. Wonder if it has any signs on it. Like some kind of a sign saying, you know, Great Wall of China Trail this way. Somehow I doubt it. A lot of this, you sort of have to figure that stuff out on your own. Oh, look at that. Oh, evacuation route. I thought it was a tourist sign. But it's an evacuation route for the people of the village. But yeah, here's the main road. And that's the entrance to the China Wall Trail that I saw before. Huh. All right. Turn around and back the way we came. Look at that. Stunning. Once again, with a setting like this, though, I have to say, I've been thinking about how nice it would be to have a drone. This area would be spectacular. Capture some video from a drone's point of view. In the past, I've kind of pointed out a negative aspect to drone video, meaning that it's fake in a way, it's false, because it shows you a perspective that you as a visitor never actually have. So if I fly a drone up into the air right now and show this, someone might think, wow, that area is so beautiful, I have to go there. But of course, if you come here and just stand here, you don't see what the drone sees. That's an aerial view. You know, what you see is what a person would see at ground level. That's the real point of view, the human perspective. I mean, it's beautiful enough, you know, to be honest, right at ground level. But somehow, you know, drone footage always looks spectacular. And yet, at the same time, it's not real. It's not actually an honest portrayal of what it would be like to be there as a visitor, you know, as a tourist. You know, this is what it's like, you know, if you're here as a tourist. This is what you would see. You wouldn't see, you know, what a drone sees. Still, drone footage is very, very nice. So, hey there. Look at that. Hi, puppy. How are you? Hey. Hello. Where'd you come from? Hey, where'd you come from? It's not often a dog comes running up like that, all friendly, wagging its tail. Look at you. Happy dog. Aren't you a happy dog? Good dog. Good dog. Sure. Yeah, wonder where you came from, huh? And continuing on her way. And the end of today's little excursion is here. Just going back up the other side of the canyon along the the Great Wall of Koto Gadang, the Great Wall of Bukittinggi, and then I ride my bike back to where the day started. It's funny, yesterday I went to the fort and the zoo, and probably one of the best parts of the entire day was having a cold drink afterwards. So I'm already looking forward to that. I know exactly where I'm going to go. Quite often all the small shops around here, they might have a cooler or refrigerator, but they often don't plug them in. So over and over, I'm disappointed when I stop for a cold drink and they don't have any. But I know of one place near my hotel, more of a larger supermarket, and they have working coolers. So I'm looking forward to that. That's where today's adventure is truly going to end, with a couple of bottles of ice cold soy milk. Yeah, maybe I'll shoot a tiny bit of video when I get to the top and have a nice view at back of my bicycle, and I'll end the video there. All right, that's it. I'm at the top, and right across from me you can see the panorama park where the Japanese tunnels are located. Yeah, to be honest, when I went to the Japanese tunnels and was thinking about that whole structure underground, I never once thought about how this area is so prone to earthquakes. I mean, the tunnels were designed to protect them from aerial bombardment, you know, bombs being dropped from planes and soldiers and mortar and artillery, whatever. But their biggest danger was probably earthquakes, causing those tunnels to collapse in on themselves. But anyway, about to say goodbye. My bike is still here, which is nice. Nobody picked it up and walked off with it. And with that last view of the canyon and the Great Wall, I will say goodbye and see you in the next video.